Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I can't believe it. What began back in August this weekend is finally going to see the football season, the high school football season, come to its conclusion at Ford Field. If you would have told me back then that here are the matchups that we're going to see Division 1 through 8, I would have said no way.
No way.
Some of them maybe. Some of them definitely not, but that's why we play the game. Welcome to Extra
That's
Point.
why you play the game.
That is exactly why, and we are here to talk about it. So I'm Lauren Plant, along with Sydney Carriel and Devin Gardner. Welcome to State Champs Extra Point, presented by Lawrence Tech. Just a quick side note, Lawrence Tech has a big visit day that is coming up on December 10th, so you can come here to the school, you can check it out, see all the great programs, scholarships are being handed out, all kinds of great information. Find out more at ltu.edu and just click on visit, and we'd like to see you here. Okay, let me start by just saying, and Sydney, you could take it from here, but I'll tell you what, we did not see the state semifinals going the way it went.
No, absolutely not. I mean, we're down to 16 teams left, all playing at Ford Field, and like you said, there was some very surprising games. Well, I guess one on Friday, a bunch on Saturday that, teams, I don't think, close games, not so close games. Devin, what were your takeaways from the semis?
I mean, like you talked about in the beginning, some teams lost that you thought for sure weren't going to lose.
No.
Right? Other teams won that in the beginning of the season, nobody even had a glimmer of hope for them to make it to this point in the season. Some people made it to the semifinals that you didn't think would make it. But that's why you play the game, man. It was great watching high school football this weekend. And now, those seeds of dreams that you planted early in the season,
yes,
now they're going to be able to blossom and come to fruition.
Right, and one thing that's not going to be a factor is the weather. We saw a lot of
it was brutal.
Snow
Brutal
was,
in so many places.
and a lot of, you looked at a lot of those games, and it was just maybe fun. It didn't look fun for me, but
I mean, we talked about it,
had
though.
fun.
We said that weather will be a part of it, and teams that are built and able to run the football and withstand the weather, those will be the teams that move on. And I think that the right teams moved on, right? You were able to withstand those cold temperatures and snow in a lot of places. If you're able to do that, you deserve an opportunity to go play indoors at that beautiful facility at Ford Field.
Themselves to victory.
They did.
We saw that.
Well, before we get into each division and those matchups, we do want to congratulate our 8-player football. They had their state finals this past weekend, so congratulations to Powers North Central and Martin winning it all.
Martin went crazy, 74 points. They had scored 70 earlier in the season as well. Powers North Central, 66 points. Both deserve to be state champs. And, again, when you watch 8-player football, it's just wild. It's just a free fall and just a frenzy of scoring. And it's a fun game. I encourage more small schools to join the 8-player ranks.
And I love to see the 8-player football games with the grass fields, because now you don't have all that extra with the turf fields, right? You make the field smaller, and it looks like a regular football game. You'll never know unless you go out and count all the players. So congratulations to those two teams winning the state championship.
Yeah, and congratulations will be in store next week once we see how everything else shakes up this weekend. But we're going to dive into all these different divisions, and we're not going to go in order. So you got to have your listening ears on, and if you're watching, just pay attention here. So we're going to dive right into it, and this one is sponsored by Feiger Law, starting with Division 8. We've got Ubly and Ottawa Lake Whiteford, a big matchup here. Ubly was in the state finals in 2020.
Seems like they're always in the state finals.
They fell short, but looking to rebound and hopefully come away with the win on this one. What do you think?
So Ubly scored a 65-yard touchdown on the first play from scrimmage, and they just did not look back.
That'll help
there.
you.
So, it was very impressive. They have been to the finals several times over the years, including 2020, never won. They are undefeated, only one loss in 2 seasons. Ottawa Lakes Whiteford, who I predicted to make the finals and win the
Of course
finals.
you did.
Their last
Side
title,
note in here.
They came in 2017, which was their first title. Clarkson Everest didn't really even have a chance last weekend. They were just very dominant. They too are undefeated. I've got Whiteford winning, but it's going to be an interesting matchup.
Finally, Ubly, can they get over the hump, though? I mean, they've been there so much. And sometimes when you go to state championship as much as they do, it seems like you think you're like so battle tested, because it's a little different. And I remember Tom Brady would talk about it for the Super Bowl where, he's been so many times, he knows the pageantry and all the different things, but there are a lot of distractions for the state championship. You got this big atmosphere arena, and hopefully Ubly can finally get over the hump. I want to see him get over the hump.
I know.
I do.
Eric Sweeney and his Bearcats. We'll see what happens. So moving on here to Division 2. Told you we're jumping around.
Well, yeah, so we're doing the orders of the finals.
Yes.
So Friday, Division 8 is first, then 2, then so.
Yeah.
And that's the way we're reading it.
Just got to pay attention
yes,
here.
Exactly.
So in Division 2, Forest Hill Central and De La Salle. I don't know if this is a matchup we were all thinking we were going to see, but two really good teams. Forest Hill Central 13-0, De La Salle 12-1.
I mean, Brady Drogosh, one of the more decorated careers as a quarterback, right? 3 trips to the state finals. Obviously, his first trip he fell to the great Brady Rose, who I think is one of the best ball players to ever play in the state of Michigan, including myself. He's much better than me. But that was the one game he didn't win, and then he won last year, and then he's going to get another opportunity, right? 3 trips to the state finals is something to be very proud about. He should be proud, and he may get himself another state championship this year. He has been just what we thought he would be in the beginning of the season. Obviously, we didn't foresee them having one loss, the loss to Brother Rice, but when you play in the Catholic League, anything can happen, and we've seen that. But he's been lights out ever since, and I have a feeling that he is not going to allow his team to lose.
Yeah, and Forest Hill Central coming over a big double overtime win.
Dexter was the top. We talked about it.
So much,
You know, they
yeah.
were having the dream season.
I'm a little saddened.
I know. I mean,
I'm a little
Cole
sad. I was
gonna
Cabana-
ask how you were
Cole
doing.
Cabana did score a touchdown on that. But Forest Hill Central, you have got to give them so much credit. They needed a touchdown on the last play of regulation, and then they had to score twice in overtime, in 2 overtimes, to win. And the conditions were brutal.
That's so tough. You have this great season.
Yeah,
2 overtimes.
1994, the last time that they made the finals. So good for them.
Yeah.
But
Dexter.
I know, but I
feel
that,
for 'em.
I feel that the Pilots are just so good.
Yeah.
They are good.
But again, Forest Hill Central undefeated. So
Anything can happen.
Great season.
Like Lauren said, that's the first half of Friday's slate, and we'll move on to the second half here. Part 2, sponsored by Alta Equipment Company. Moving over to Division 6, West Catholic versus Negaunee. This is looking like a good matchup, and I believe you had...
I did. I
Yeah,
picked West
you
Catholic.
did.
There's a lot of Grand
did you?
Grand Rapids, Forest Hill Central, another Grand Rapids team in the state finals. Grand Rapids had a good semifinals, except for one, which was the most incredible loss. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But West Catholic has an Air Force commit named Tim Kloska. He is their all-time leading rusher, 330 yards and 5 touchdowns in the win versus Clinton. So Falcons in the finals for the first time since they won it 5 years ago. Good on them. Negaunee won a title 20 years ago, the first year of state champs. So they have come full circle. Maybe a slow start versus Reed City, but they got it done. They're undefeated, but I see this as West Catholic's title to lose.
Hold on now. Negaunee, 20 years ago, last state championship. 20 years ago is when Ford Field was built, so maybe it's meant to be. 20-year anniversary of Ford Field, maybe the 20, they're going to get it this
state
time.
champs anniversary at
Possibly.
the same time.
Hey, I'm just telling you.
They've got a lot going
I'm
for
just
them.
telling you,
They've
maybe,
got a lot going
possibly.
for them. Yeah.
But
You diving
obviously-
into the history
obviously
books.
West Ca-
Okay.
Well, no, don't look at me.
Taking a page out of
Listen,
Lauren's
time out. I'm going
playbook.
to tell the truth here. Don't look at me as a historian. 2002 was one of my favorite years. I won the 10-year-old championship, and I was the first player to be able to
truth
play at
comes
Ford
out.
Field, so that's really the only reason I know that. So there you go.
You're not
West
taking
Side
a play out
Steelers,
of
Detroit
Lauren's-
Pal. Nope,
Yeah.
I don't know the history like Lauren. He's outstanding. His hair is much better than mine.
And they did not play in Ford Field in 2002. That was still at the
Yeah,
Bunny. So
exactly.
It wasn't until 2004.
Yeah, because they only let the Little League play before.
Exactly.
Because I was on that Little
Right,
League team,
right, right.
obviously.
Shout out again if anyone's
Absolutely.
watching. But
West Side
moving on-
Steelers. They won a championship this year, too, by the way, just in
Yeah,
case you
no,
were
I
wondering.
love that.
They won a championship this year. They're
Great
actually
program.
on their way to Florida soon to
good for them.
play for the national championship in Division II for the nation. So
Wow.
it is what it is. They're
Right
still
on.
good.
Great timing. Get
That's
out of this
Still
weather.
good.
That's awesome.
Just
Yeah,
kidding.
that's true. Get out of here.
But moving on forward to Division 4, we got South Christian versus Goodridge. We all know I'm pulling for the Martians in this one. This is their first state title trip ever in program history. They are having one heck of a season. And head coach Tom Allward, this is his 30th year as head coach for Goodridge. I
You
mean,
called
you
it.
can't write a better
No,
story.
you called it. I did not think they could handle Riverview the way that they did, and they did. They performed outstanding, and South Christian on the other side, another team that I predicted would another Grand Rapids team that's in the state finals. It was cold. It was brutal. They played a good program in Edwardsburg. Edwardsburg had beat them the last 2 years in a row in the regionals. South Christian gets over the hump and they get to the state finals. So this one I really can't call. The way that Goodrich is playing right now, man, it's going to be hard to see if they can slow them down. But the season that South Christian is having is unbelievable.
And running back Jace Simerson had 5 touchdowns for Goodridge, and it feels like there's different names that we talk about, or we've talked about the last 2 weeks in Goodridge. So they've got different weapons all around. We'll see how that one shakes out. That's for sure. That will be a good one.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Final Four time, and we're going to get into it, both Mr. Football and the Amble Award on this final Extra Point program. Let us first say welcome to Sean Belizean, who has been by our side all season long, as he has for many, many years. We went into the war room, and we went to work to decide who was going to be in the Final Four. And let's just quickly say before we get into this, it was an impossible task this year. We could have had 7, 8 guys go into the Final Four. So we want to send out props to every single candidate who was on the list. All top 10 were truly worthy. And it was just a brutal, brutal decision to have to narrow it to 4.
And Lauren's right. It literally is a war room. I mean, he's like the general, right? He's standing in front of the chalkboard showing us where each army has to go. And we are sticklers to our rules. You have to practice what you preach. And following the criteria that appears on your screen every week, all year long, we came up with the 4 players that really hit the mark with that. With that being said, Lauren, I think it's safe to say the one guy that we had a very difficult time keeping out of this, historic year for Ethan Clark. I mean, it really was, and you don't want to take away anything from him or anybody else, but when all is said and done, and we did so mathematically, we came up with our 4, and we feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, you could say the same about Parker Pico,
Oh,
what he contributed to the
year.
Highlanders this year for Rochester Adams. Obviously, both those guys are not in our Final Four, but again, it is no takeaway from the outstanding seasons and careers that both of those young gentlemen have had and will have moving forward. So let's get into it real quick. We do have an online vote. We do it every year, and this one was pretty historic. I mean, we're talking into the 50,000s when it comes to voting, and it was really kind of a 2-man race for the last month or so, and it was between Cole Cabana and it was between Samaj Morgan. Cole Cabana from Dexter wins the online vote. He's the people's champion, and quite honestly had put a case for himself that he could have made the Final Four organically, but helped by the people, he's in.
Well, let's start right there with Cole Cabana. This is a guy that checked all the boxes. Let's put the online winner aside for just a moment. Checked all the boxes, a tremendous season out there, but now we got to reach back in that box. He's the online winner. He's in. And this is why, Lauren, we say to people, we almost plead with people, hey, get your guy on there. Take nothing to chance. But Cole Cabana, his play earned it, but you guys out there especially earned his spot in our Final Four.
Yeah, Dexter, a tough double overtime loss in the state semifinals. Their season's over. Cole Cabana's dream, though, of possibly being Mr. Football continues. He has a 20% advantage over everybody else. And we're not going to get into all the stats and stuff like that. You can find that on the website. So you can go there to look and see all the numbers to see how worthy these guys are. But let's get into the next one, and that is the fine quarterback from Warren De La Salle, Brady Drogosh. All season long, just talk about the general. He's it.
Everything just seemed to go up during the course of the season. And Lauren, one of the things that we talked about in our meeting yesterday is, look, with the success of others around them, De La Salle went like that. And in the process, in following our criteria, you had to look at Drogosh and say, you know what, quality of opponent went like that as the playoffs have progressed. So fantastic season for the Pilots. Congratulations to Mr. Drogosh.
Yeah, case in point, the Catholic League Central Division with 3 teams, a couple of them with just 3 wins, but they had, the entire division making the playoffs and making a long run. Okay, let's move on, and let's just get this one out of the way. The defending champion, Dante Moore, the first junior to ever win Mr. Football, is back in the Final Four as his King Crusaders are looking for back-to-back state title.
Well, this was a guy that, one of the factors against him is he sat out a lot. King was in a position where he was able to only put up a half worth of stats. But again, much like Drogosh, what you've seen him do? Go like this as the playoffs have progressed. He's coming off a monumental game that, Lauren, when we talk about big game performance, it doesn't get much bigger than that. He punched his ticket. Deserving, once again, for Mr. Moore.
Absolutely, and I think there were a lot who would argue that King maybe was not as talented at the skill positions than they were last year. Dante made the most and made those guys as good as they can be, and here they are again playing for a state title. Okay, our final guy, and this really was kind of, the open question going into state semifinals weekend. We talked about Ethan Clark. You had Clarkston going up against Caledonia, and the way that Caledonia pulled off what to me is the upset of the year. Mason McKenzie deserves to be in the Final Four.
Well, and you know what? Mason McKenzie and Caledonia as a whole, congratulations to you guys, because you guys knew. You knew all along, and that's why you're playing right here. But again, Lauren, following our criteria, as we went through this process yesterday, we were just like, this kid checks all the boxes. What more do you need to ask for? And again, pay attention to our criteria and the things that we discussed during our conversations. Check, check, check. Their work isn't done, but for now, he punches his way into our Final Four. And in my mind, Lauren, a no-doubter, a no-brainer.
That's right. Another team that's level of competition amped up throughout the playoffs, and making the finals in Division I is quite a monumental feat, especially this year. So we'll see how that plays out at Ford Field. But that's the Final Four. You'll know our champion next week, so make sure you stay tuned. Thank you so much for following this race all season long. For Sean, I'm Lauren. We'll have our winner next week.
We're going to take a quick break and check in with our friends at the DMC Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine and take a look at this week's Game Changers.
Hi, I'm Laura Ramos from DMC Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine. And today on Game Changers, we're going to talk about when you should see a sports medicine physician. Well, this question is asked to us a lot, and our general rule starts with this. If you have an injury that keeps you out of sport for a week or longer, you should definitely see a physician. Now, if it's a general medical issue or a small injury, then you can see your primary care doctor. And the difference between a sports medicine specialist and a primary care doctor is not only will you get a diagnosis and a treatment plan, but a sports medicine doctor will look at the whole athlete. They'll look at, first of all, what caused that injury. They'll look at nutrition. They'll give them an exercise program that not only gets you back into your game, but will improve your sports performance. If you fall into one of these 6 categories, you should definitely see a DMC sports medicine physician. Number 1, an injury that doesn't improve in 2 weeks, even after you've seen your primary care doctor. Number 2, a complicated injury related to overtraining or overuse, like shin splints. Number 3, a chronic condition like tendinitis at your shoulder, your knee, or your hip. Number 4, a sports injury that requires surgery. Number 5, a sports injury that causes a concussion. Number 6, athletes who have chronic or acute conditions like asthma, diabetes, or mono. So if any of these conditions are keeping you out of the game or affecting your performance, you need to see a DMC sports medicine physician.
Do you have a sports injury, or are you just looking to take your game to the next level? Then go where the pros go. DMC Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine. For immediate care, call 313-910-9328 or visit dmc.org/gamechangers. Entering its 26th year of excellence, applications are being accepted right now for the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation's Michigan Male and Female High School Athlete of the Year Awards. Not everyone qualifies, so listen closely. If you are a recognized first-team All-State athlete in a sport or projected to be one this school year, if you have at least a cumulative 3.0 GPA, and if you have demonstrated leadership through the school or as a community volunteer, we want you to apply. 6 male and 6 female student athletes will be nominated, with each being awarded $1,000 of college scholarship money. The winners will receive $5,000 each. The 26th Michigan High School Athlete of the Year Awards will take place at the incredible Detroit Athletic Club in downtown Detroit the evening of Monday, June 5th, and streamed live on the State Champs Sports Network. Nomination applications will be accepted through Monday, March 6th, and this is important. You cannot be nominated if you don't apply. Download the application today at dacathleteoftheyear.com. That's dacathleteoftheyear.com. All right, guys, time to get into some Anvil talk. Hard to believe, for the last time this season, as we announce the Final Four for this year's Anvil Award, the 5th annual State Champs Anvil Award presented by Hungry Howie's doing it with us all season long. It's been Coach Tim Beckler, the Hall of Famer. And Coach, we got together and, did the work. We had to pick a Final Four. It's always difficult when we have to narrow it down to just 4. The top 10 is much easier because we can kind of really go after, who we believe should be finalists for this award and meeting the final top 10. Let us give some shout outs to those who did not make the Final Four real quick because they deserve some props. And Brandon Davis Swain was our only junior in the competition from West Bloomfield. He's already committed to Notre Dame. He had over 4,000 votes in this competition. He will be back next season. We'll see how he turns out. Cole Dellinger from Clarkston, the big offensive lineman, is going to make a lot of hay at Michigan State. Can't wait to see what he does in the future. Braden Corser from Detroit Catholic Central, another Michigan State-bound Spartan. He had an incredible season for CC. Dylan Senda from Dearborn Divine Child, another really talented offensive lineman, almost 9,000 votes. He's going to take his talents to Northwestern. Lots of Big Ten in this talk here. Jack Story from Brighton, the offensive lineman. He is uncommitted. He was at Grand Valley, then he was Hope. He's still making up his mind. We'll see where he ends up. But again, a phenomenal season for Brighton. And Jeremiah Alston Jackson had a really career year for Redford Union. Came in late in our competition. He'll be going to Central Michigan to do what he does, but he left his mark for the Panthers. So congratulations to all those guys, but they did not get into our Final Four. We followed our criteria, we did the work, and these are the ones who ends up being in this year's Anvil Final Four. First off, we want to give props to our vote winner, and another man who came in late into the competition, but his fans rallied around him, and I'm talking about Kavanaugh Dighton. This young man, the senior linebacker, our only linebacker in the Final Four for Clarkston, is going to be having a 20% advantage to win the whole thing. So he'll be getting in the mix. We'll see how that plays out. Unfortunately, Clarkston's season is over. Kind of a shocker there of what took place on Saturday. Also, Mason Moragan, the very talented defensive end from Warren De La Salle. He's taken his talents to Illinois. He is in the Final Four, and Tim will talk on these guys as a group in just a second. Amir Herring from West Bloomfield, although a fairly early exit in the playoffs, an outstanding player, an outstanding season. Just look at the tape. It does not lie. He's a big reason why West Bloomfield was able to have the success that they had. He is going to Michigan, and he's expected to progress very nicely at the next level. And finally, Jalen Thompson. We talked about Cass Tech all season and what they've been able to do. Granted, they did not get by Belleville, so they will not move into the state finals. But Jalen Thompson, the defensive end going to Michigan State, he is one who will wreak havoc at the next level, and will get nothing better. Tim, you look at this group, you think about this group, kind of different styles, different talents on all sides, but again, a solid 4.
Absolutely, and Kavanaugh Dighton, you can tell he's a team leader, probably a great locker room guy.
Leading tackler for the school history.
Yep, smart kid, probably makes all their calls and checks and gets them in the right fronts and coverages. And he's a physical player in the middle. He's had an outstanding year. And then, I want to talk about Jalen Thompson from Cass Tech. Watched that game. Very disciplined player. He plays the run and the pass equally as well. Belleville just got rid of the ball. He did make a couple hurries, got 1 sack, but that kid's a difference maker. He's a great football player.
Yeah. How about the offensive lineman, Amir Herring?
Amir Herring, we talked about him in the first couple weeks
right
of the season, and he's memorable. What a great technician at tackle. Great run blocker, a road grader type. but he's got great feet and he's a great pass blocker as well. Good football player.
And then finally, De La Salle has just been one of the best teams in the state all season long. And on defense, it definitely rolls through Mason Moraga.
Moragan is a dangerous football player. He is a problem for any offense to deal with. Running at him, whether you're running the ball at him, if you're pass blocking him, you've got to put 2 guys on him. That kid tilts the field. Huge, great football player.
And 6'5", 250 pounds as a senior, he is only going to get more. He's just going to fill up and fill out, and he is going to be somebody to look at the next level at Illinois. So that's our Final Four, ladies and gentlemen. We will choose our Anvil champion next week. We do not have any of our Final Four except for Mason Moragan, who is playing at Ford Field. So does that give him an advantage? We shall see. We'll do the work. We will spread it all out and see who ends up being this year's State Champs Anvil Award winner, and we will let you know next week.
And moving on to our Saturday slate of games, this segment is going to be sponsored by Menards. We'll start with Division 7, that early morning game. We got Lumen Christi versus Traverse City St. Francis. Lauren, I feel like I'm a broken record
Yeah,
here.
I know.
You definitely did call this one too.
Wait, you called this one too?
I'd call Traverse City St.
Oh,
Francis.
nice.
Absolutely.
Good for you.
They are a juggernaut. I will tell you, when you look at pound for pound, who's the best program in the state this year, it's hard to argue that Traverse City St. Francis is not that team. I'm sorry, New Lothrop, but you were the latest victim in what has been an unbelievable season. 53-8 was the final in that one. Now, Jackson Lumen Christi had a surprisingly easy time with Napoleon, and I they had barely gotten out of the regionals, had to come back and win. They only won 76 before that, but Jackson Lumen Christi is one of these, like kind of Edwardsburg is too, one of these all-time great perennial powers. They always seem to find themselves either in the Final Four or in the finals themselves. But again, Traverse City St. Francis, in my opinion, is having one of the most dominant single seasons ever in high school football. Now granted, there's a lot of teams that you could put in that record, but I think if you were picking a top 25 single season unbelievable, I think they're having that, and I think they're just going to roll in the state finals. But
Wow.
what do I
Yeah,
know?
that
I
is-
probably just gave you the
What do you? He goes, what do I know?
What do
After
I
he
know?
picked
And
every
then-
single division, at least one of those teams.
Side
Yeah,
note.
yeah, almost.
Speaking of, a team rolling right now with momentum, we've got 2 teams who are doing that exactly in Division 1. This is Saturday's matchup. We've got Belleville versus Caledonia.
Yeah.
Devin.
It's going to be an exciting quarterback duel. I'm excited for that. But I want to talk about the Belleville game just a little bit. The Belleville versus Cass Tech game. Right? So much controversy with Belleville, even controversy in the game, right? You get the touchdown that you think is the game winner, and then, or the game tire, and then they kick it to the best player on Cass Tech's team. Don't know how that happened. He runs it back, and then they play for a field goal. Awful decision, in my opinion. But then you get into overtime, and so I just want to talk about DeJuan Rogers. Right? I just want to take you back to Corey Parker, 25 years old when he gets the River Rouge job, and we all see what he became and what he was able to do. DeJuan Rogers is 27 years old, and the decisions, I've watched Belleville play for a number of years, and so often they were always the best team, and they would fall short, and it's usually a thing where it just seemed like some coaching decisions or whatever just didn't go the way they thought it should. This young man, right, who played at a high level, all MAC player, a guy who's thrown into this fire with this talented team. And in that game, in my opinion, I don't think they're the most talented team by a wide margin. I don't think so at all. I think Cass Tech might have been a more talented team. And there were some decisions in the game that he was able to make in that fire. I think Belleville's found a new coach. I mean, he was outstanding, and I have to give a round of applause to him because he is the reason for them winning that game. Yeah. The decision, obviously, there's a holding call in the two-point conversion, but every holding call is not going to be called.
Right.
He makes the decision on that stage to say, I'm going to go for 2 right here and win the game. I don't know if I would have had the courage to make that call, especially as the interim coach. Yeah. Kudos to him, a guy who's done it, been there, can help those kids. He coached at Iowa State as a grad assistant, had to come home for, different reasons, but unbelievable. Because I'm just telling you, I didn't see it coming. 27 years old, I'm 30 years old. I'm not coaching anybody. I don't want to be making any of those decisions. In the cold, he was outstanding, never looked flustered. And Belleville as a team never looked flustered. They leaned on Jeremiah Beasley, and then the young quarterback gets in the end zone, right? The drive to win the game, it was amazing. But Caledonia's coming in now, and they've got themselves a quarterback as well. Mason McKenzie has been absurd this year. And he's been waiting for an opportunity to play a team like Belleville. Now, is he going to get exactly what he asked for? Because Belleville is a really good team, and they are extremely well coached by DeJuan Rogers. So it's gonna be a very. I really want to watch that game.
Yeah,
I really want to watch it.
It's going to be a good one. And, going back to Belleville, I think that second quarter was a little bit of a wake-up call for them. To give up 21 points, no response.
That's another
and then
part
come
of it.
back out.
Right, they've never
they're
been
shaking
down
up.
like that.
No.
Never.
No.
And to see them battle back against a team that is either equally talented or maybe more talented,
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
Definitely more
Unbelievable.
momentum on the technician side and
Yes.
who they had to go through to get there.
Absolutely.
You could feel the momentum on Belleville side just pop. Like,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was
Yeah, you were
just-
right on the sideline.
Yeah,
You could
it
see it
just
be-
sucked out of them in the second quarter. So I thought, oh my gosh,
What do you
this
need
second
when that
half-
happens? You need a leader that's going to make sure that you get back on the right track. And I think DeJuan Rogers was the reason for that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And a footnote on the Fighting Scots. They lived up to their nickname. They say defense wins championships. If you would have told me that Caledonia was going to shut out Ethan Clark and Clarkston 21
Oh, I wouldn't have
to nothing,
believed it.
I would have said no way.
No way.
But their defense was unbelievable. And again, it was cold. You mentioned McKenzie. He was methodical. Other guys stepping up. They are a true team, and they are somebody that Belleville needs to worry about.
Yeah, I mean,
because they are going to bring it.
Mason
So-
McKenzie just feels like the kid with the chip on his shoulder where he's playing in obscurity. Nobody really pays attention, right? Because they beat people pretty bad. He doesn't play in the second half. His stats aren't as good as around of the state because he doesn't play full games. But the stats are still very
They're
good.
very good.
They're very good. They could be better
Very
because
good.
he hasn't played all the games, but the full entirety of all the games. But he has all the skills you want from a quarterback. A playmaker. He's poised, right? He's got good size. He can run the football. He can throw the football with the best of them. So him, Bryce Underwood, that is a matchup that nobody in the beginning of the season thought that, oh, can't wait to see Bryce Underwood versus Mason McKenzie. But guess what? You cannot wait to see Bryce Underwood versus Mason McKenzie. It's going to be good.
Well, as in the words of Devin, we'll find out who we think that we thought they were.
Yeah.
So
Are they who we thought they were?
Yep.
We'll
we
see.
will find all of that out, and we'll figure out who these teams are in our last two games on Saturday. Moving on here, sponsored by Southeast Michigan Ford Dealers. We got Division 5, a matchup with Frankenmuth and Gladwin, the Flying G's.
I mean, with that name, you got to go to the championship, baby. The Flying G's.
And
the
Frankenmuth-
Flying DGs. What? What?
When I saw Grand Rapids
Talk about-
Catholic Central lose to Grand Rapids South Christian, I was shocked, because we were getting ready to do overtime and we were watching the game. We're like, wow, I can't believe they're actually going to lose. But that was a battle, and I mean, when I didn't even bother really staying with updates on that game. I just figured Grand Rapids Catholic Central is going to move it. All props, all credit goes to Gladwin. What an amazing season that's going to continue. And this is really fun because Frankenmuth is another team that has, been kind of circling the Ford Field, for a long time, and here they are getting an opportunity to play. This is just a great story. Both teams, Division 5 state final.
Yeah, and like you said with Frankenmuth, they've had their taste at Ford Field, couldn't get it done. So that was back in 2020, and
Right.
we'll see if they could get it done this time. A couple of players still on that team, but the last game to cap off our state finals weekend, this is got to be a good one. And
Hey, I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good one.
If I would have called it at the beginning, this is the only one that if you would have shown me it's going to be King of Muskegon for Division 3, I would have said, okay. I could see that one playing out. I didn't, didn't really know where Muskegon was going to go, and they had their struggles early, but certainly they have played with as much momentum as anyone the last really 9-10 games.
Well, we got a red alert. Lauren did a spoiler alert, but Division 3 is King and Muskegon.
sorry.
Oh, yeah. King of the Well, so we talked earlier
Just joking.
about Brady Drogosh and his run as a quarterback. How about Dante Moore? Right, 4 years, again, 3 opportunities at a state championship. Obviously, as a freshman, they go. As a sophomore, they lose to River Rouge. Then they go again and they win. And then now they're back. Like, you could have 2 state championships, 3 appearances in 4 years. That is exceptional. And this is a rematch. Remember, was it 2017? Right? DeQuan Finn
Should we call him
versus
John Kidd?
Yeah,
Call
John
him
Kidd.
John
Who is
Kidd.
it? You put the number on the whoever. But remember, DeQuan Finn versus Muskegon and the talented quarterback that is now
Cameron
at Ohio.
Martinez.
Yeah, now at Ohio State playing safety. But those two everybody came in the game. And remember, it was whoever wins this game is probably going to be Mr. Football.
That's
right?
a fact.
Whoever won that game
was
was
a
going to be
fact.
Mr. Football.
Yeah.
DeQuan won it, and you got his trophy from,
Darius Slay gave it to
Darius
him right
Slay,
here in the
absolutely.
studio.
Big play Slay. And so DeQuan Finn was so big in that game. And I think because of the way Muskegon plays, Dante Moore is going to have to be very big in this game just because they take the air out of the ball. And remember, when I was a prep player playing against Lowell in the state championship where they ran the ball and never gave me a chance to really. And so if you don't score in your limited opportunities, you may never get the ball again, right? And that's the way Muskegon plays football. So Tyrone Spencer, the head coach for King, has been on an outstanding run to this point, but they have to make sure that they capitalize on all the opportunities that they have at Ford Field because Muskegon, the way they run the ball, the way they hold on to it, it can be devastating where your offense never even truly gets a chance.
Yeah, you made a point last week that when you're in the red zone, you need to get that touchdown. You can't be settling for field goals.
Cass Tech.
And that,
What are you doing?
Not to bring that back.
You're playing for a field goal. What are you doing?
But-
It's crazy.
But you did make that point
Yeah,
last
you
week.
have
and
to
it's a
score.
huge- especially
Yeah.
for two good teams like this. You can't. You got.
It's gonna be good.
Well, it was interesting too because I remember we talked even at 7-on-7s when it was Southfield and King playing over here in Southfield, and we knew that we were like, boy, King just doesn't have the receiving core.
Yeah,
that he had.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was going to be a maturation process all season long to get on the same page. And again, that is such a testament to Dante Moore's
Oh, my
leadership
goodness, yeah.
and how he was able to bring this entire team along.
It's like high school Tom Brady, right? Where you elevate your teammates. Because like you talked about, when we were at that 7-on-7, we're looking like, nah, it's probably not going to happen this year, right? And then early in the season, it's like, they got one guy, and then now they put Sterling Anderson at receiver a lot and used him as a weapon. He was primarily their running back, but they found out, like, man, he can catch the ball out of the backfield and he can line up at wide receiver and catch the ball. And they've made those adjustments, so that's a credit to Tyrone Spencer and for Dante Moore to elevate his teammates. That's been a very good job and have his teammates with another chance to win a state championship. It's outstanding.
I think he'll do it again.
Oh, that's a bold statement.
Did you stand on the table? I don't know. I don't know. If you don't stand on the table, I don't think we can count it.
I feel good about it.
I'm gonna jump on the table with you.
Okay.
Right? I'm gonna jump on the table with you. I think that the way that they've developed, they're hitting their stride. For a lot of years, they were always really, really good and early, right? And I always say when you're really good early, you have nowhere to go but down. Right, you can't truly develop because you're always just so good. Like Ohio State, right? They're always so good in the beginning, and it's just like, now they're still really good at the end, but they're just not as good, and they kind of lose a little momentum. But when you're continuously climbing, getting better, they had 2 tough losses, right, to end the season, and they were like, oh, that's a wake-up call. They get into the playoffs, climbing, some tough games, some tough battles. I think that they're hitting their peak finally at the end of the season, and it's the perfect time.
Yeah, this is a legacy game. So when you talk about greatest high school players, in Michigan history, which was a conversation that came up earlier, these are the kind of moments in games, the biggest stage. It's the final game of the state finals. I think Dante may just show everyone again, hey, remember me.
I'm the best football player to ever play in the state of
Remember
Michigan.
me.
All right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna pull.
That's
Muskegon
what.
on this
So like
one.
that's
I
what
mean,
he's
look
fighting for
how
other things, right? A state championship, but not only that, for everybody to be looking, is like we got to take a look. He may be the best football player to ever play in Michigan.
Right. And
Success
Michigan may
and
just
stats,
say,
everything.
Not so fast.
Yeah, I mean, Mackay guys, six
Not gonna let him touch
touchdowns
it.
last week.
Not gonna let him touch it. It's mine. The ball is mine.
Yeah.
No.
And they played great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this could come down to
It's gonna be good. Two contrasting styles. It's perfect.
great
Yep.
Perfect. Perfect game. Perfect game.
I'm just excited for the weekend. I mean, how are you guys? I'm kind of sad. This means this
Oh,
is
you
the
won't
end.
get to you don't get to see me every week. No.
right.
Shoot it. Yeah,
We can
that's
still
exactly
do lunch
what
and
I'm
stuff.
sad about.
Lauren has like his own restaurant and stuff.
I heard
you know.
John Kidd is bringing us crumble cookies
Oh, really?
to celebrate. Yeah,
That's crazy. Can't wait.
shout out John Kidd.
It is
Thank you,
always
John.
sad. It's a great weekend. You get to be inside Ford Field. The kids get an opportunity to play on the grand stage. There are always moments that you could take away from each one that you're going to remember. And you just put yourself in the position of those kids. Yeah. And when they're out there, I say kids, but when they're out there, it's the greatest time in the world. I never got to play for a state championship. You did.
Hey, don't remind me.
I know.
2 of them.
But still, you
And the
got to-
despair, right? That's a part of it, though. That's
Yeah.
the emotion and despair. I remember just feeling so down as a junior. Not as a junior, not feeling that much, because I'm like, I'm gonna go back next year, of
Yeah.
course. And then you get into the next season, we start off 0-2, and then we find a way to get back. But then that game, when we lose against Lowell, I'm injured from the game before, and and it just hurts. It hurts so much more because now it's over. Right now, it becomes a real, true business of you're going to the University of Michigan. And so a lot of these kids are playing their last. There's no more, right?
Yeah.
This is the last time they'll play high school football with the teammates that they grew up with. It's a special time, and it can be a lot of jubilation
Yes.
Yeah.
or a lot of despair.
And for some kids, their last time playing football ever.
Ever.
No
Right.
one, yeah,
They
and
will never strap
that's
it
what
up
always
again.
makes me tear up at
Yeah.
the end of every. I'm a
is.
softie for that, but
I know.
I just. Even now, I feel like I'm
I
going
know.
to tear up for
Yeah.
these kids,
I
but
know.
you work so hard, so enjoy every moment when you're at
Yes,
Ford Field.
savor
Take
it.
it all in.
Savor it. And when you do win, congratulations to you when you do win. That's the ultimate thing. They could never take that away from you no matter what you do in your life. You're going to have that moment, that game, and you can watch it forever with your friends.
Also, don't let Sydney fool you. Arizona State plays Arizona on Friday. I'll be calling that game. And if Arizona State wins, she'll be happy for the rest of the year.
But true, in that time slot of the games, I'm still thinking about all of you
Still
guys.
thinking about, but basketball's next. Can't wait.
Yeah, can't wait to see these guys at Ford Field.
Absolutely. It's going to be good.
State Champs Extra Point is powered by Lawrence Technological University. Visit L2athletics.com and recruit yourself. Extra Point is also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Michigan Army National Guard, a proud partner of the MHSAA. The Detroit Medical Center Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine Pros. Visit dmc.org/gamechangers. Nominations are being accepted now for the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation's Michigan High School Athlete of the Year Awards. 6 females and 6 males will win a $1,000 college scholarship and be invited to the DAC in downtown Detroit on June 5th, 2023 to find out who will be this year's Athlete of the Year. Seniors only, and you can't be nominated if you don't apply. Find out more and download the application at dacathleteoftheyear.com. Alti Equipment Company, Michigan's #1 construction equipment provider with over 40 brands. Get the right equipment for your project every time. Hungry Howie's Pizza, famous for flavor. Feiger Law, nobody knows the law like we do. Menards, save big money on all your home improvement needs. And by the Southeast Michigan Ford dealers, think Ford first.